Oh no, it'll be fine. It's educational. Gets away with anything now. They love fellows. A day later she phoned up and said, "You were right, they won't let us use him." "Ah," we said, "why not use K9 instead?" Not exactly knowing where the bits were. But they decided they were going to use it, and John came in and did the voice. So we had to end up putting it back together again. And we know exactly when we did it because
we were actually able to track down the guy who stripped out the original mechanism, and he still had it in his garage.
There's dyno tape in there that says K9 Mark IV. We didn't keep him as Mark III at the time. Rebuilt May 1990 by Matt and Mike. And that's probably the only reason we can remember it.
Dyno tape, that's actually nice.
But that was the time when we actually were going to repaint him the Daypole green, but we thought once you get away with it, we kept in the K9 Mark III colours, which was a good job because X number of years, 25 years later, or rather from 81, 25 years later, Russell T. Davies phones us up and says, "You still got the dog," because he's coming back into the story.
And it's a remarkable bit of design work by Tony Harding, in that one of the things that was discussed at the tone meeting at the school reunion was, is he actually going to work for a modern audience? Are kids actually going to respond very well to K9 in the same way that we weren't sure whether people would respond well to the Daleks? And the fact that he did go down so well, I think, is testament to what Tony did. I think it's an extraordinarily timeless bit of design. So even if Rose says it's a bit disco, I mean, it's a robot dog. There's not an awful lot you could do with it.
Have you seen the dog disco? Actually, pretty good.
It's an incredible aspect of the return of Doctor Who that so many of the series visual symbols have returned so unchanged that the temptation has been resisted to stamp a new mark on them. Do you attribute that to there being so many people like yourselves who know Doctor Who very well and care about Doctor Who that are still in the industry? Or just something else? Do you think it's got a different relationship with its audience?
I think it's one of those things that it's a little like when they tried to change the red phone boxes to the new style, and the outcry was like, no, why change it? And I think there is a certain amount of both Ray Cusick, Tony Harding, a scattering of designers through the 60s and 70s actually hit the nail absolutely on the head and came up with something so iconic. Plus it's on the screen for 20 odd years. Why bother changing it for change's sake? I mean, the Daleks, I think, are a classic example of that, in that the new production team did talk very, very seriously about what the new Daleks would look like. And the Dalek Emperor from Parcel of the Waves was actually one of the abandoned new Dalek concepts, that they were going to walk on those three shield-like legs. And at the end of the day, there just wasn't any need to change it. So I think it's strong design from the 60s and 70s, coupled with a very, very inbuilt nostalgia about certain things. In the same way as I said, like a telephone box or a post box
or a police box.
Or a police. I mean, why change them? I think actually to come up with anything any better would be quite a hard job.
There is I take Mike's point there, but it did seem to me originally, when Who came back, was they wanted to distance it slightly from the old series. I mean, I'm not just talking about design, but the fact it was a 3/4 of an hour long episode, which we never did before. I think the shortest was probably 2.5 hours. Some elements were kept, but the style was bought. The style changed completely, which because it had to be. There's no way. Little story. The last time, if you watched, as you probably must have all done, the last episode, the dog is in it fleetingly. I took the dog down to Cardiff to the new studios for one day in March to do the filming. Of course, we were on the Sarah Jane set, which was